morning. I'd like to welcome all of our students, faculty, and guests to the 2014 Little Falls Community High School Veterans Program. My name is Tim Bury, and I'm the high school principal. My assistant principal, a veteran, Mike Olson, will be the MC this morning. There are 23 million veterans living in the United States. We're going to start our program with a short video. Please face the west side of the stadium.
Grandpa, something wrong?
Some people sure have short memories, and those who are too young to know need to be taught. Come on, I want to show you guys something.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. At dawn on the morning of the 6th of June, 1944, 225 Rangers jumped off the British landing craft and ran to the bottom of these cliffs. 225 came here. After 2 days of fighting, only 90 could still bear arms. These are the boys of Glendalough. These are the men who took the cliffs. These are the champions who helped free a continent. These are the heroes who helped end a war. You are men who in your, quote, lives fought for life and left the vivid air signed with your honor.
In the name of God and country, I learned to defy gravity. To honor my family, I lived in the belly of a beast.
I fixed the hearts of iron monsters. I became a worm in the mud for dignity,
For honor,
for righteousness' sake, for God and country. I fought for you.
I fought for you.
For you.
I fought for you.
I fought for you. I fought for you. I fought for you. For you.
For you.
For you. For you. I fought for you.
I fought for you.
I fought for you, and I do it again.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Thank you very much. It is my privilege and honor to be your MC today. Thank you all for being here, and a special thank you to all the veterans that are here. How about a nice round of applause for all of the veterans?
At this time, I'd like to ask anybody sitting in the bleachers or out in front of me, if you know a veteran or have someone currently serving in the military, would you please stand, please? That's all of you. Please stand. Wow, that's pretty amazing. How about a nice round of applause for everybody? At this time, please stand as your colors are presented. You may be seated. Last time, I'd like to introduce another special group of people, the veterans who currently work at Litchfield Schools. If you would please stand. I believe that's Mr. Kula, Miss Yelena Mialan, Miss Sandy Richmond, Officer Dave Stumpf, and Mr. Pender, and yours truly, please stand. How about a nice round of applause to the veterans with me? Thank you. At this time, it's my privilege to introduce our guest speaker. Colonel Charles Perrins entered the Minnesota Army National Guard in 1981 through the University of Minnesota ROTC program. In August of 1982, he entered onto active duty for a 4-year tour in the 9th Infantry Division at Fort Lewis, Washington, where he served in many positions. Colonel Perrins returned to Minnesota and the Minnesota National Guard. Colonel Perrins has served at every level of command up to the brigade command. His most recent assignment prior to his retirement in July of 2011 was the Sustainment Chief for the 34th Infantry Division and Multinational Division South, where he was responsible for the human resources, logistics, finance, and medical operations for the southern half of Iraq. He deployed and served in southern Iraq at Combat Operating Base Basra during Operation Iraqi Freedom from 2009 to 2010, where he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal for his wartime service. Colonel Perrins' awards include 2 Legion of Merit medals, the Bronze Star, Meritorious Service, Army Commendation Medals, Army Achievement Medals, the National Defense Service Medal, Reserve Component Overseas Training Ribbons, Army Service Ribbon, State Active Duty Ribbon, and the Air Assault Badge. Upon his retirement, Colonel Perrins was awarded the Legion of Merit Award for 30 years of military service in the Army. Colonel Perrins and his wife Peggy live in Little Falls. They have 2 children, Matthew and Maggie. At This time, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Colonel Charles Perrins. How about a huge flyer welcome?
Wow, I'm a little overwhelmed this morning. I'll have to admit, back in my mind, I was sort of hoping for a snow day. I'll just tell you right up front, I'm a little nervous. I haven't spoken in front of anybody for a little while, and it'll be tough to get through this a little bit. So, but what a wonderful turnout. Really appreciate everybody, ladies and gentlemen, friends, and most importantly, our veterans here today. Thanks for joining us on Veterans Day. And Principal Bjorgi, thank you for inviting me to speak today, and I want you to know it's an honor to be chosen to be here on behalf of the service members, past and present, on a day when we pause and reflect and honor our veterans. Thank you for all of those people who are responsible for organizing such a wonderful Veterans Day celebration. At the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, a simple telegram of 3 lines brought great news to Europe and to this nation. At 11 o'clock today, in accordance with the terms of the armistice, firing ceased on the American front. It meant 5 words to the veterans of World War I. The war is over and home. And in November 1919, President Wilson proclaimed November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day. But it wasn't until 1938, 75 years ago, 76, sorry, you'd have caught me on that, I think, that Armistice Day was signed into public law as a legal holiday to set aside and honor veterans of World War I. And then, in 1954, after 2 more terrible wars, it was changed to Veterans Day to honor all veterans that have served in our armed forces. So here we are today, continuing that great tradition of honoring those individuals, many who are with us today, are veterans who have worn and still wear the uniform of the Armed Forces of America. In 1834, Daniel Webster told the Senate, "God grants liberty only to those who love it and are always ready to guard it and defend it." Fortunately for our nation, there continues to exist a long, unbroken line of patriotic defenders like our veterans, those with us today and those currently serving, who rise up from this land we call America and take their place on freedom's walls. They were all ordinary people living ordinary lives who were asked to make extraordinary sacrifices in extraordinary times for our country. There's a common thread that runs through our veterans' motivation to serve. They answered the call to duty just like veterans before them, just like you veterans sitting here did, because they believe in the premise that Samuel Adams professed in 1771. The truth is, all might be free if they valued freedom and defended it as they ought, that the freedoms we so often take for granted are worth fighting for. And that's what our 43 million veterans since 1776 and the 21 million who are currently living among us today have done. Answered the call to duty, stepped forward and raised their right hand and said, "Send me to defend the freedoms that we all hold dear." I would ask the students here today, have you thought about your future, and does service to your country play any part of that? Has the thought of serving your country even entered your mind? Do you think you have what it takes to be a soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine? Do you have the skills, courage, and fortitude to be an armed services member? And more importantly, can you live up to the values of our armed forces today? Not everyone can, and that's okay. In America, we have a choice. In the not-too-distant, sometimes forgotten history, it wasn't like that. Many of our veterans had much less choice in their service. Because as a country, on 3 occasions to date, we relied heavily on what was called the draft to fill our ranks, otherwise known as a form of conscription. This is what we used to call in the Army as being voluntold to serve. Yet they still served because it was their duty as a citizen. And did you know that today, in the United States of America is one of the nations throughout the world where military service is not compulsory, but voluntary. More than 50% of the nations with standing militaries use conscription to fill their ranks. However, today in the United States, we embrace and have been able to maintain a volunteer armed forces. It is indeed the greatest military in the world, where today you can serve in an armed force no matter what your race, color, or creed may be. Moreover, our veterans here today and current service members in the armed forces are in an extremely elite company. During World War II, about 9% of our population served, and then during Korean and Vietnam Wars, less than 5% of our population. That makes them pretty exceptional. And right now, today, less than 1/2 of 1% of our population serves in our armed forces. Look at the impact that this small group of citizens has made around the world. Not to mention the contributions of our veterans have provided once they've left service. Veterans are still serving in various ways today. We have several service organizations represented here today. Thank you for being here. A number of which are organizations directly affiliated with the armed forces. The work veterans do today within our community provides exceptional returns to our society in exponential ways. I was honored to be a part of a very solemn and reverent ceremony last Wednesday night at our local American Legion to remember and recognize the veterans within our community that have passed away over the last year for a final farewell from their comrades. It was truly a heartfelt ceremony that was endeared by all those in attendance. One of those honored in particular that many of you may know so well was Mr. Ray Stump, who passed away just over a year ago today. Not only was he a veteran who served this great nation as a warrior for a better portion of his life, he went on to serve this community as a citizen, teacher, coach, and mentor to many others, as well as a volunteer for a number of altruistic organizations. When he retired from being a sailor, he earned the moniker of veteran. He wasn't alone, but he wasn't done serving this great nation. Something he did all the way to the end. So you see, being a veteran is something you carry with you throughout your life, culminating only in death. It's truly part of your constitution. And I know that you know there are many who walk among us, in particular, who have walked the halls of this institution, who share this quality. And that is one of the most interesting characteristics of a veteran. You can't necessarily tell who is a veteran and who is not. You know, living in Little Falls, Minnesota, with an institution like Camp Ripley in our midst, with a long, vibrant history within our community, may seem more ordinary to those who've grown up here and lived here throughout their lives. It might just be a bit more commonplace for us to see a person who may be a veteran in our midst, wearing a uniform, providing just a bit more giveaway to that characteristic, or perhaps knowing something about where they work. However, it's not evident to all, and in many cases we wouldn't necessarily have a clue, nor might we be able to tell someone is a veteran without being told that fact. So I have a challenge here for you students today. Who is the veteran in your life? Your grandfather, your dad, your uncle, your brother, and now, even more than ever, maybe it's your mother, your sister, or your aunt. Have you talked with them about their experiences, particularly in combat? I can tell you that my generation did a lousy job of that. We didn't ask our parents about their wartime experiences. Even though they weren't too willing to give up the information, unfortunately, we didn't ask. Maybe because of that, but more importantly, we didn't comprehend what would be lost. And because of that, hundreds of thousands of personal stories have been lost. In most cases, if at all, we need to go back and try to recreate the accounts of what happened, and only to surmise what each and every veteran was thinking while their experiences were happening, instead of possibly hearing a bit of history firsthand or straight from the horse's mouth, as that generation might have been known to say. There are some great stories about veterans in your life, stories that have yet to be told about Desert Storm, Vietnam, or even further back to Korea and World War II. But you have to ask them, you have to interview them, have them show you their journals, their pictures, artifacts, and letters to home. And yes, I'm talking about real letters, not emails, not messages, not posts, but tangible handwritten letters. And I'll bet you find they still have them, as they're very personal. There's a program sponsored by the Library of Congress called Veterans History Project. You can Google it, or I'll be happy to give you the website. They'll give you the information on how to prepare for and conduct an interview with your veteran, and even the questions to ask. And they provide information about submitting the interview to the Library of Congress. If you do this, I guarantee you that your veteran will tell you more things than their immediate family has ever known before. Most of us are generally happy to post stories about ourselves on social media for just a flash in the pan of history. Or conversely, your work on this subject matter, instead of a fleeting moment on the internet, could be in the Library of Congress forever. As you're all well aware, the technology you have today to make a record of these experiences is historical and far superior than ever before. So you have all the right tools to do the job. And I'm confident you would have the support of your teachers here today as well. We need to do this before it's too late, as our World War II veterans are nearly at the end of their time with us. Think about it. What a spectacular legacy to leave for your veteran and their family. How proud would you be of your achievement? I missed the opportunity. Don't miss yours. Now, there's another group of veterans to mention at these events that I also want to recognize. These veterans had little choice in the matter, that they served faithfully along all the veterans we honor here today. Talking about the families of veterans. So if you're a family member of a veteran, particularly of a veteran that's been deployed to a combat zone of one time or another, please stand up to be recognized. Thank you all. Appreciate that. Whenever troops have been called to action and they're deployed in support of a mission, they leave behind their spouses, their children, their parents, and all their loved ones. Family members may not carry a rucksack on their back, but they carry the weight of worry about their service member. Probably the most cumbersome burden anyone can imagine, and they carry that burden until their loved one returns. I personally understand the importance of a strong family, having trained and served overseas, where your family is your greatest strength, your greatest source of strength. And I thank all the families here for that. Finally, I do know one thing about our veterans, our service members. They will never, ever apologize for being an American. Oh, America's not perfect, but I can't think of, nor have I experienced, a better place to live on earth. And we didn't get to become a great country by accident. We earned it. And while we were earning it, we kept and continue to keep a large part of the world free. Our veterans here today know that better than anyone. We remain the beacon of hope for many, as there are more people trying to come to our shores, to our country, than anywhere on earth. And God willing, it will always be so. We're number one in that regard, and don't ever apologize for it. Just be darn proud of it, and proud of our service members who make it so. A number of years ago, Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister of England, was sometimes criticized for his unwavering support for the U.S. And he said this: a simple way to take measure of a country is to look at how many want in and how many want out. Speaking on behalf of those who still wear the uniform today, I'm proud to have stood in your ranks, and it's my honor to be in your presence today. Thank you.
Great job, Colonel Behrens. This time you may be seated. I'd like to introduce Little Falls Community High School Choir under the direction of Camel Larson. This time I'd like to introduce Mr. Jim Lang for the flag folding ceremony. He will be accompanied by Chief Warrant Officer Mark Whittington and Chief Warrant Officer Howard Larson. Mr. Lang. Good applause. Thank you.
The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life. The second fold of our flag is a symbol of our belief in eternal life. The third fold is made in honor and remembrance of the veterans departing our ranks who gave a portion of their lives for the defense of our country and to attain peace throughout the world. The fourth fold represents our weaker nature, for as American citizens trusting in God, it is to Him we turn in times of peace as well as in times of war for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is a tribute to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is for where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all her enemies, whether they are found within or without the boundaries of our republic. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered into the valley of the shadow of death that we might see the light of day. The ninth fold is a tribute to womanhood and mothers, for it has been through their faith, their love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of the men and women who have made this country great has been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to the Father, for He too has given His sons and daughters for defense of our country since they were first born. The 11th fold represents the lower portion of the seal of King David and King Solomon and glorifies in the Hebrews' eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in the Christian's eyes God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The 13th fold is when the fold is completely folded. The stars are uppermost, reminding us of our nation's motto, "In God we trust." After the flag is completely folded and tucked in, it takes on the appearance of a cocked hat, ever reminding us of the soldiers who served under General George Washington and the sailors and Marines who served under Captain John Paul Jones, who were followed by their comrades and shipmates in the armed forces of the United States, preserving for us the rights, privileges, and freedoms we enjoy today. Now we'll prepare for a 3-round volley. Veterans are allowed to salute during taps after the 3-round volley. Thank you.
Would ask that we please rise. Salute the men and women who have gone before us with our 3-gun salute taps. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Our ceremony is at its end. I just have a couple of announcements to make. At 11:15, there'll be a 21-gun salute at Bank Square. From 10 to 1 today at the GRAA, the Grey River Arts, there's a showing by a Vietnam veteran. 1 o'clock today is the Mary Lords Middle School Veterans Program. And tonight at 6:30, Kinship has their veterans program at the Alliance Church. You're all welcome to attend those events. I have to apologize. I think I did a little flashback when I saluted our people that work here in Little Falls, not Litchfield. A little flashback. I apologize to everyone. I was talking with some people about my career when we got off task there. So at this time, our ceremony is concluded. We would like to invite all veterans to join us in some coffee and cookies in the west mezzanine, or west lobby area, please. Thank you. At this time, I would like to have Mr. Bjorgi come back up for dismissal.
Students and staff, let's give all of our guests, our veterans, the people that participated in the program, one big round of applause. Okay, we got a couple of school announcements. Welcome back. Welcome, Winter. We're going to dismiss. We're going to go back to second hour. Staff, I believe each hour will be approximately 35 minutes long. We'll divide the remaining time between now and 11:36 into 3 equal periods. So students will be returning to second hour. I will send out the exact bell schedule in about 10 minutes. Okay? So at this time, let's dismiss the choir first. Choir students first. All of our guests, if you would like to